What if you could reduce the number of sales calls you're doing by using a framework that helps you create content that builds trust before the sales call? Because a lot of business owners end up stuck in this cycle where every time sales slow down, they think, hmm, maybe I just need more content. Maybe I need another freebie, or maybe I need to hop on another platform. Maybe I just need more visibility. And before you realize it, you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and manually chasing sales through the DMs, networking, or outreach, while your content still isn't consistently bringing the right people through the door. That's exactly why I developed the DATE framework, not just to help me create better content, but to help me understand what was actually happening in my business so I could stop reacting emotionally and start refining intentionally. And once I started using this with clients too, I realized something really important. Most people do not need more content. They need clearer communication, better refinement, and a way to identify where people are getting stuck before the sale ever happens. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 biggest shifts that completely changed the way I approach content, sales, and client acquisition. When I really sat down and looked at my business, I realized I was basically saying the same things over and over again anyway. The problem wasn't that I needed more ideas. I needed clearer communication around the ideas that were already working. That realization is what eventually led me to develop the DATE framework. The first thing I realized was that consistency is not the same thing as constantly creating something new. For a long time, I thought consistency meant more content, more workshops, more lead magnets, more platforms, just do more. But all that really did was spread my focus thinner and thinner. What finally changed things for me was realizing I didn't actually need newer ideas. I needed to make the message clearer. And that's a huge difference. Repeating yourself is just posting the same thing over and over. But refining your message means understanding why something connected in the first place and improving on how clearly you communicate it. That's where the DATE framework became incredibly valuable for me and my clients. It gave us a way to stop emotionally reacting and start identifying where the actual bottleneck was happening inside our efforts, whether that was visibility, attracting the wrong people, or people being interested but unclear on the offer itself. And once we could identify where the disconnect was happening, the content became much more intentional. I had clients tell me, I'm not a copywriter. I'm not good at sales. I don't know how to market myself. But once we clarified the offer and understood what they actually needed to focus on as a business owner, everything started feeling simpler. Their content got clearer, their confidence improved, their sales conversations became easier, and they stopped trying to reinvent themselves every 5 minutes. The second thing I realized was that better content starts with understanding your offer better. That was a massive shift for me. I stopped asking, what should I post today? And started asking, what problem am I actually solving? And what language are people already using to describe that problem? That one shift alone changed the way I create content because now I wasn't trying to come up with endless random ideas. I was pulling content directly from the problems my services solve. For example, let's use one of my topics. Take pricing. That one topic alone can branch into confidence over delivering, undercharging, fear of raising your rates, client expectations, positioning, capacity, and how pricing affects the type of clients you attract. And that list just keeps going. And once I understood that, content creation became much easier. I realized I didn't need endless new topics. I needed to go deeper into the topics that already mattered to my audience. This is another place where the DATE framework became really powerful. It helped me and my clients identify where people were getting stuck in our client acquisition process. We started asking ourselves, are people finding the content but not staying engaged? Or are they consuming the content and never converting? Those questions matter a whole lot more than how do I come up with more content ideas? And honestly, this is why I'm so against the constant just post more advice online. It just sounds like just do it better. More content without clarity just creates more noise. The third thing that changed everything was realizing I was measuring the wrong things. At first, I was watching what they tell us we should be watching: the likes, the comments, the followers, the views, the downloads, all the visible stuff. And yes, those things can give you signals, but they're surface level signals. What really changed my perspective was when people started quietly showing up, asking about my services, even when they had never commented before. I had never seen them before, never even knew they existed. That's when I realized, oh, the content is working. I'm just looking at the wrong indicators. Some of the most important signs are actually quieter and almost invisible. Things like returning viewers, people binge watching your content, people bringing up phrases you repeat in your messaging, people who silently consume your content for months before finally reaching out. Those are powerful signals. And this is exactly why people hurt themselves when they pivot too quickly. They assume this isn't working, so they jump on other platforms. They change their strategy up. Maybe they even create another offer. They start over completely. But sometimes all they really needed was one or two very small refinements: a clearer hook, a more specific message, a clearer call to action, better alignment between the content and the offer itself. Sometimes the right people simply haven't stayed long enough yet to hear the value. That's not failure, that's feedback. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons I use the DATE framework with clients now. It helps people stop spiraling every time something underperforms. Instead of reacting emotionally, you start looking at your business more strategically. You start understanding what the data is actually trying to tell you. That changes everything. Once I stopped treating content like a daily performance treadmill and started treating it like a long-term business asset, consistency finally started feeling sustainable instead of exhausting. I stopped trying to constantly reinvent myself and started refining what was already working. If you want help figuring out where your messaging, content, or client acquisition process is actually breaking down, that's exactly what I help clients do inside my Cash and Clients Without Chaos programs and services. We look at the offer, the messaging, the client journey, and where people are getting stuck, so you can stop randomly creating more content and start refining what actually converts. You can check out my services below. Or if you're still curious, here's another video YouTube recommends you watch next.